time, and it's 10:50. So we will start I'm the moderator. My name is Mark Lai, and the name of the panel today will be Energy, Resources, and Infrastructure. The time, we will have 8 minutes for now, but I think for today we have 3 presenters, and one of them just go for is not coming, so we have two presentation, and we have our reviewers right here, Professor Zhao Yumin. And so I think the time will be, we distribute for each presenter around 15 minutes, right? And if it's over 15 minutes, I will just let you know, right? And we will have our presenter to present first, and then we have the discussants and reviewers talk about. I think the time limits will be 10 minutes top, and then we'll continue with our group discussions together. So the first presenters are, the title will be Taiwan's Energy Policy under the New Global Order by and you have 15 minutes, and you can start your presentations. And I will just do the time, right? I will let you know that 3 minutes before 15 minutes, but you can use this time to talk about it. All right? Thanks.
Renewable energy is now a common goal to achieve in the whole world. The reason why I chose this topic as my briefing content, not only because I personally have a lot of experience in this field, but also it has become one of the most important issues for our future. There is 4/5 of wind power plants built in Jianghua coastal area. Therefore, as the speed of Jianghua County, I have been serving among people, local business, the county government, and the central government of Taiwan. It's my duty to make every effort to bring positive impact to our society, and we are all responsible to take a part in going green. Taiwan's energy policy under the global order. Alright. First, introduction. Second is current status of energy structure in Taiwan. Third is policy response under global challenges. Finally is conclusion. Introduction. Background. Energy serves as the cornerstone of modern society, driving the economic growth of nations, while playing a crucial role in environmental sustainability and global security. Global energy transformation. The global energy sector is witnessing significant transformation in recent years, driven by various factors including climate change, energy supply security, and technological innovation. Taiwan's energy dependence. With its high level of economic development, Taiwan has a significant dependency on energy. The current energy supply is heavily relied on imported fossil fuels, posing risk to energy security and carbon emissions. Challenges in energy policy. Understanding the existing energy structure is crucial. Before diving into Taiwan's energy policy amidst the evolving global energy economics, the imbalanced distribution of energy facility worsen regional economic differences, adding complexity and challenges to figuring out future energy policy for Taiwan. Transition to renewable energy. Taiwan is a trajectory towards adopting renewable energy with aims to achieve 20% electricity generation from renewables by 2025, transitioning away from traditional fossil fuels. The main focus has been on the development of wind and solar energy, with wind power showing significant potential due to the island's geographical location. Despite the government's ambition, challenges like public skepticism and the high cost of renewable technologies persist. Nuclear energy and the public perception. The role of nuclear energy remains contentious amid public safety concerns, influenced by historical nuclear incident and the 2011 Fukushima disaster. There is a gap between the government's view of nuclear energy as a low carbon alternative and the public understanding regarding its safety. The planned shutdown of nuclear plants jackpots the need for secure, low carbon energy source, needing an effective public communications strategy to align governmental and public views on Taiwan's energy future. Policy response under global challenges. Energy diversification and renewable commitments. Amidst global energy challenges, Taiwan has highlighted energy diversification to reduce risks associated with over-reliance on a single energy source. Aiming to upgrade national energy structures. Significant moves include setting targets to achieve 20% electricity generation from renewable source by 2025 and 27% by 2030, fostering a reduction in carbon emissions. Despite progress, challenges like the high cost of renewable technologies and the public skepticism persist, requiring ongoing innovation, policy support, and societal education. 2050 net zero emission pathway in response to climate change Taiwan launched the 2015 net zero emission pathway and the policy overview, targeting a multi-dimensional transition covering energy, industry, lifestyle, and societal opinions. Core strategies include transitioning from coal to cleaner gas-fired power generation, promoting hydrogen energy and carbon capture technologies. A suite of 12 key policies has been proposed, spanning renewable energy development, energy system recovery, carbon reduction in industrial sectors, lifestyle changes, international cooperation, and legal and educational frameworks. Efficiency improvements and international cooperation to meet the set target of 15 energy saving by 2025, promoting energy efficient technologies, and public awareness on energy conservation are highlighted. Challenges like high cost of energy saving technologies and the lack of understanding among the public underline the need for stronger educational drives. Internationally, Taiwan's accession to the International Energy Agency and energy agreements with multiple countries reflect a commitment to global energy cooperation and supplier security. Facing forward, for sustained growth in the renewable sector, working up policy to attract investments, improving energy efficiency, and active global energy collaboration and are deemed crucial. Challenges such as technology cost, energy storage, and policy consistency require attention to ensure a reliable energy supply, and along with global energy security objectives. Conclusion: roadmap to net zero emissions by 2050. Comprehensive plan began in March 2022, addressing climate change and energy security. Multi-dimensional transition covering energy, industrial, societal, and lifestyle sectors. Core purpose: energy transition with a focus on increasing renewable energy share, shift from coal to clean gas-fired power generation, and exploring new technologies like hydrogen energy and carbon capture. Efforts to reduce energy consumption, adopting low carbon technologies, promoting green living, and fostering a circular economy. International cooperation, active engagement through platforms like the IEA, fostering global stance in energy governance, formulating energy security policies, and international accords to secure stable energy supply and foster energy technology collaborations. Changes,
One minute.
challenges and way forward, overcoming challenges such as high cost of emerging energy technologies, market scales, and rising conference, continued price drive, technological innovation, solid international collaborations, and inclusive engagement as keys to navigate challenges and achieve sustainability goals. Resilient commitment, steadfast commitment to addressing global climate change and progressing toward a sustainable energy landscape. Thank you for listening.
Alright, thank you for the presentation. The time is just right there, 11:10, so the 15 minutes. How about we just continue with the second presentation, and our discussion, and me, we will follow the second presentation to give our feedback. So we don't have a. So the second one will be Mr. Cole to do the presentation. All right, because the second one is not showing up today, so
okay.
that's why. All right.
Okay.
So we have a 15 minutes, and I will remind you just 1 minute before that.
Sure.
All right? But use the time. All right. Thank you.
Good morning. Yeah, my name is Wenzao, from Indonesia, from Universitas Erlangga University of Surabaya. I'm a postgraduate student. I'm not a lecturer. Okay, so I will start my presentation. The topic is dealing with China's Belt and Road Initiative in Indonesia, the case of Jakarta-Bandung Speed Railway project. So they just started operation on the 1st of October, so it's about 2 weeks ago. Yeah, and then just coincident as well, just about last week, I think, there's the third forum of Belt and Road in Beijing, and it's quite happening there. And I'm supposed to present this topic with Vincencio Tugis, my lecturer actually, but he happened to have to cover another presentation in another room. Yeah, so I'll do it myself. And okay, so China Belt and Road Initiative, just give you a background. So unveiled in 2013, so now it's the 10th year of anniversary. And China claimed that have 151 countries and joined the initiative already. And then they said that the purpose is to implement the Chinese concept of community of shared future for mankind. So they say that it's very, very altruistic motive actually. So then they to create economic interdependence to promote peace. And then the former minister, the former foreign minister of China said that actually that global enterprise to build a wealth of prosperity and a road to happiness. Yeah, many agree, many disagree as well actually. So then this, actually it's a China economic strategy to export infrastructure globally. So they have money and they have construction of a capacity. So they do this as a, some say it's a business actually, right? And then why they do that? Because I quote a sayings, you can't really know where you are going until you know where you have been. Yeah, so China has been a great power for 200 years ago, and before the colonial, the Western colonial power open up the sea, they do trade by the sea. China was the power when they are on that period. So they actually rejuvenation of the Silk Road, the whole Silk Road. They always refer to that glory, past glory. And then now how Indonesia national interest suit to the initiative. And because I'm going to talk about the Jakarta-Bandung project. So how they relate with the China Belt and Road. So in the same year, on the 2013 presidency from China, had a state visit to Indonesia, and then he gave a speech in the parliament talking about Maritime Silk Road. Yeah, just a month after he unveiled that in Kazakhstan. So Maritime Silk Road is a part of the BRI, Belt and Road Initiative. Initially it is called OBOR, but now they changed to BRI. And then the following year, our president, in the first term, President Widodo, talked about global maritime fulcrum. So he talked about Indonesia's strategic location, and then so it is in line with the Chinese kind of vision as well. So and then the second term on the 2019, our president have a vision 2045. So it is 100 years of our independence actually. Our independence is 1945. So in 100 years, 2045, our president said that we are going to be a great country. Yeah, that's one of the background of the why Indonesia take the offer from China, right? Because, and this is the topic that I'm going to discuss. By using business and global strategy approaches, the paper will argue that unlike China's BRI in most joining countries, for Jakarta-Bandung they use B2B business arrangement. So it's business to business, it's not government to government. So it is, yes, we have a reason because of our national interest, and I'll explain later. And that's the interesting part. Why it is become very, very controversial, because there is a competition between US and China. So the US and most of the collective West accuse actually the BRI is a death trap for poor country. So they're afraid that if a country took a loan from China under the scheme of BRI, it is a death trap. And then US also some experts say that actually BRI is a China motive to build a military facility for the PLA in the event of war against the US. And then, as we say, we know that the US always try to undermine the BRI, and then China also keep pushing the BRI, and now we see that China's economic strategy versus US military strategy. And I see that actually China used the economic strategy to win more friends. It is a soft power against the US hard power, right? And why Indonesia, this give you a background for the project, why Indonesia chose China over Japan. Actually, the one actually did a feasibility study for the project was Japan. Japan did that. But in the last, after 2 or 3 years, our president decided that the project was given to China. And the reason is because China could accommodate our national interest. We want the B2B, business to business arrangement to suit Indonesian national interest. We don't want to have a burden, a loan burden for the budget, fiscal budget. And they form one company with which 60% of the 60% owned by the Indonesian consortium, and then 40% owned by the Chinese, right? And it's actually a private, state company to state company. And then because China give another offer again, so Indonesia doesn't have to come up with the money. They give a loan for $4.5 billion to the consortium. And so when someone talk about that part, it seems that it is not relevant anymore. Okay, and then what the project means to Indonesia. So the project means, yes, I said previously, it is for the vision of 2045. So for a symbol to develop efficient infrastructure. And yeah, the project it just completed, and then it is said to be successful, and then our government has already decided that it will continue to Surabaya, so another 500 kilometers. Now it's about 140. Yeah, and then yes, to support Indonesian national interest, to unite the country. It's a symbol actually. It's a small one actually, 140 kilometers only, but it become something because it is the first in Southeast Asia, and also the first in, of course, the first in Indonesia, right? And as you see, the people are very happy. Our president was very happy. It reached 350 kilometers per hour, right? It's the first outside China, I think, the real high-speed train. And normally it takes about 3 and 4 hours to get Bandung from Jakarta, but now it's about 45 minutes if we took that train. And yeah, people is very excited to try that. And what the project means to China? Yeah, for China, they want to show a win-win solution instead of zero-sum game. And then this is my analysis. They learn from the past experience that if they don't have friends outside the country, they will be blockaged. They will be decoupled from the rest of the world. But now with the BRI, they have about 150 countries around them, and then when the US want to blockage them, it is impossible now. So it is like for them it's like for security. And for China as well, it's they self-declare leader of the developing world. They keep saying that they are a developing country. They don't want to be a developed country. So they want to be a leader in the developing world. We know it's a global south. Yeah, so now they put the global south against the global north. And then I talk about Bandung because in the 1955, they have a conference in Bandung about the non-alignment movement, but it failed because at that time, most of the country in Bandung conference has no money. But now China want to revive again. They have the money, they have the technology, and now they gather all the global south country. And conclusion. So yeah, the Jakarta-Bandung project has evidently shown how flexible China's VRS scheme is. It's a win-win solution to cater to Indonesian proposal organizing infrastructure project in B2B instead of G2G. So the debt trap notions was actually irrelevant now. And then the project is actually also to boost the sense of national unity. But as we know, actually it also a risk, because when Indonesia getting too close to China, it is always a risk. And there's a reason for that. And so, having said that, putting national unity and interest over anything else, Indonesia with so-called free and independent foreign policy, we call bebas aktif, always develop a hedging strategy in dealing with the US or China and China. So they always, in reality, in economic sense, Indonesia always have a good dealing with China, but in military sense, always with the US. They got a military training together and whatever. So they always do a hedging. Yeah, that's, I can conclude my presentation. Thanks.
Right, thank you. The total is 14 minutes. I think our first presenter, Mr. Pope, have a very good management of the time.
Thank you.
14.
Thank you.
So we will continue with our discussion. So I will start, because I'm the first reviewer for Mr. Xie's paper, and Professor Jiao will be the second one to talk about Mr. Po's paper. So I will be the first one to do it, and I have to talk in less than 10 minutes, so that's the limit. And after me and Professor Jiao, then all of us can join the discussion and ask the questions. All right. First of all, I will talk about Mr. Xie's paper. That Mr. Xie left our panels because Mr. Xie is actually the speaker of the county councils of Changhua. Changhua is the county in Taiwan with a 2 million population. So he's like the number 2 of that place. So that's why you can see that me and the professor shake hands with him, and he actually has a very tight schedule to go to Thailand today, so that he has to leave the place. And I told him that I would just, if we have any discussion about his paper, I would just send to his email account and let him know. He's pursuing his PhD degree in Zhongjing University. That's why he's studying energy policy in Taiwan. That's just a little bit introduced of Mr. Xie. All right. So about his paper, I will just summarize. I will talk about his paper and give him the feedback from my side, and also give you guys all the suggestion of how to at least share my experience on how to finish the doctoral dissertation. The paper that I read from Mr. Xie is actually more like a literature review of this topic, the Taiwan's energy policy, the history of this, and the problem of Taiwan's energy policy, and also what the government wants to do from now to the future. So it will make a good literature review. It's talking about what happened right now and how other scholars they talk about this issue. But after this, that Mr. Xie must continue research with his own feedback to the whole problems, energy policies. And I have several suggestions for him that I will write a letter to him. I will send him my feedback to him that I will share with you. The number one will be maybe that Mr. Xie wants to, the choice one, wants to pick one specific energy industry in Taiwan. For example, you want to talk about renewable energy. There are many different kinds of renewable energy. For example, solar system. For example, wind power. And he can definitely choose one or two and talk about the development from the timeline. So 20 years ago, we started with solar power, and the change of the volume and change of the policy of the government from back then and now, and how about the future? This industry will develop into what kind of the direction? So that would be like specific, focus on the specific industry inside energy policy that can narrow down your focus and accumulate more knowledge for the people who are interested in Taiwan's energy policy. Choice one. And choice two, Mr. Xie can continue his research to talk about compare the energy policy in different countries. So you can think about Taiwan is the place 91% of the energy rely on the imported sources. I read about this number, the 91% from Mr. Xie's paper. So I was wondering that where comes the 9%? Where comes the 9%? Do we really have a coal in Taiwan at all? And 91% came from other countries. So Taiwan, I mean, Mr. Xie should compare the countries just very similar like Taiwan. For example, Japan's energy also heavily depends on the imported ones. For example, Singapore, right? For example, Gaza, I mean, Gaza is not good. Some other countries who don't have energy by themselves, they have to rely on the imported one that Taiwan should compare with. And especially the ones that they also face the very big security concerns. Then you gotta know that how they survive under this kind of, some country will block you, but you have to get all the resources from other countries. Now that sounds like a Gaza. So, and Mr. Xie can choose those cases and compare how these countries deal with their energy policy. So if Mr. Xie wants to focus on all Taiwan's energy policy instead of a specific industry, so maybe the units of the research can be country by country. Taiwan compared with Singapore, or Taiwan compared with Peru, right? So that can be a good choices for Mr. Xie. And third one, I was thinking about since Mr. Xie serving the government, so there will be much easier for Mr. Xie to have access to the governmental information. So as he said in the opening of his presentation, there are lots of the wind power plant in Zhanghua. We saw that. I mean, if you go to the coastal areas, it's all the fans right there, right? Offshore power plant also, wind power plant. So probably when they start their power plant in Zhanghua, they have to sign the contract with the local governments and also environmental organization. And all those processes must have a lot of information that we outsiders don't know. So Mr. Xie can use his position as the is an opportunity to gain those information and try to even compare how Zhanghua or Miaoli or other counties they deal with the wind power plant. Then that will make a very good dissertation that other students might not be able to finish up because he has the access to those information. So that's the three my suggestion for Mr. Xie's paper. And also I want to continue with 3 minutes. I want to continue to talk about Taiwan's energy policy to share with you guys because I just attended a conference yesterday and it's from Wednesday until Thursday in Taipei, and I just met the boss of the Taiwan Electricity and China's Petroleum. That's the two biggest energy company in Taiwan. And also I met the boss of Tailadian. And I'm not important. I'm the chair of this panel. You know, if you want to become the chair of the panel for two reasons. The one reason is your academic performance was so good to the level you don't have to be the presenter or reviewers. That's one. Right? You are off the game. You are so beyond everything. That's one. The second opportunity, you become the chair because you are old. I think I sit here because I'm old. That's the only reason, right? All right. I'm not important. I just go represent the school to go to Taipei to attend that meetings. There are hundreds of people there. So I just hear a lot of things about energy policy. So I was thinking about Mr. Xie, his paper and what I get. I think that there are two major problems in Taiwan on energy policy. The one is we over-rely on the fossil fuel. And we over-rely on fossil fuel. The reason is the fossil fuel is much cheaper than anyone else. It's cheaper. And the Taiwan's electricity and all other power, the price of it are too cheap compared with all the developed countries. Our industry in Taiwan heavily depends on those cheap power resources. That's the reason that we can afford to have all kinds of industry in Taiwan, and our products can be competitive in the international market. So for the government, put it this way, the very important word is subsidize all those industries by cheap energy. So that's why we have to rely on fossil fuel. But meanwhile, just like Mr. Shi points out, we try to promote our renewable energy. But the renewable energy are so expensive. Some of the renewable energy are like 3 times, 4 times more expensive than fossil fuel. So no company would ever want to do it in Taiwan. It's impossible. So that's why government has to subsidize those renewable energy by the Taiwan electricity company. Taiwan must buy all those renewable energy and channel into the general hub and sell to the companies. So that means Taiwan, the Taiwan electricity company, is actually buying out all those renewable energy in Taiwan. Because I just remember the boss of the Taiwan electricity. He complained when in his speech. He said that I'm not really the boss of the company. I have to buy the products that's way more expensive than the market price, and sell them with the 20% of the price to my customer. So I can't be a CEO for the company that we keep giving out the money to the people in Taiwan. That's a state-owned enterprises. So that's why he has no choices. Renewable renewable energy important, but we are buying them for no purpose. It's only for the political purpose. So I think the 2 most important problems, one is the fossil fuel too high, over-reliant on the imported ones, and the second one, we don't have to rely on other countries' renewable ones, but it's too expensive. So the only solution, I'm every expert on this in this industry, everyone knows that the only solution for this is for Taiwan to increase the price of the energy. Then most of the problem will be fixed. That's what happened in most of the developed countries. Their energy prices are so high to the level that people will start to be careful about their bill. Right? So the last thing I want to mention is about the electricity car in Taiwan. Last year in Taiwan, been sold for 1,500 cars, and this year until today, actually it's yesterday because I heard the boss of the Tesla, he said that in Taiwan, he said that sold in 3,500. So that's almost they predict that there will be almost like 4 to 5 times of the electricity cars being sold in Taiwan this year compared with last year. So electricity car is one opportunity that Taiwan can evolve into a more renewable energy. But nowadays in Taiwan, the electricity car, most of them are luxurious cars, not into the ordinary people's. And it will take a lot of the government's efforts to do it. And the government must not only listen to the people, but sometimes to choose the right kind of policy. All right, so that's my feedback to Mr. Shi, and I will continue with Professor Jiao. And how about you can introduce yourself a little bit?
Oh.
He's a professor of our department, but maybe.
I don't want to spend too much time on myself.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. I'm in the Department of International Affairs at Wenzao, and I just want to thank the presenters and our moderator today. Mark made my job very easy because he brought in some very important themes, right? One is industrial policy, I think, right? The state's role in the economy and picking winners and providing subsidies sometimes is good and sometimes is very bad, right? In terms of energy, Taiwan faces a lot of problems. And based on Mr. Koh's presentation, I was just already thinking China is the big player here in terms of electronic vehicles, right? In terms of making them, processing them, and Indonesia is a partner too because of nickel and other minerals, important minerals, right? In terms of the battery. And I think Taiwan, of course, has a lot of problems in dealing with China, right? And so because of that, there are a lot of opportunities that are not possible right now. And I think about renewable energy, and the problem that you mentioned is the problem of scale, right? It's a problem of scale, right? Nobody wants to, develop this because the scale of Taiwan's renewable energy is so small, right? But if we were to have a joint venture with China, right, then we could really make that pie bigger, right? And that leads me to your paper, right, which is, I thought this was a very interesting paper, and I think high-speed rail is called Whoosh in Indonesia.
Whoosh, yeah.
Whoosh. I love that name because it's fast, right? And the high-speed rail in Taiwan, your paper reminded me of our country's experience, right? We also had different bidders, right? And Japan won, right? But it was also bidding with European companies, right? And so your paper really mentions two aspects of different visions, right? The Chinese vision complementing the Indonesian vision for this national infrastructural development, and this idea of an alternative model for development, right? Because whenever you have something that is alternative and the West criticizes it, that means you're probably doing something right, right? But of course, your paper also mentions, some of the concerns about debt traps, right? Recently, I think the big report was Nepal, right, with the new airport that was developed with China in terms of the Belt Road Initiative. And that article points out all these problems in terms of the bidding process, the debt process, and the untransparency, right? And I think your paper mentions the controversies and challenges, but it has a very, very strong thesis about the B2B, right? The business to business, right? And I'm thinking that this could be something that could be further developed, right? Because you mentioned the 60%, 40% ownership between the Indonesian consortiums and the Chinese ones, right? And I'm very much interested to see more about who these players are and how they're involved. And I think one of the things about this paper that is also perhaps interesting to other BRI-related projects, because there's thousands of them, right? There are thousands of these projects. And as you mentioned in the paper, right, they're in the global south, right? And Africa, for example, also is mentioned in this paper, right? In terms of the railroad projects there, right? And I'm interested to see if Indonesian case like this high-speed rail project and other cases perhaps in Africa could be compared, right? And so going back to the comparison method, can we look at the stakeholders and see this as a successful case, right? Because Indonesia was able to leverage different players to get a deal that seems to be more beneficial to it, right? And can other countries learn from Indonesia in terms of what its stakeholders did to do that? And I'm wondering if this is something that could be discussed, because I'm sure a lot of other countries are interested in getting a better deal or getting an optimal deal, right? So I just want to say that the paper itself I found to be very, very comprehensive, and you covered, you and your advisor covered a wide range from geopolitical to the national, right? But my concern is, could we look more at the stakeholders in this B2B, because that's the strength of your argument. It's a very strong argument that this was the big difference, right? And can we look at that more closely? The other thing that I would say is, in terms of the methodology of the paper, I think this high-speed rail project is the case study, right? If we look at it as a case study approach, right? And so focusing more on the stakeholders and the actors involved in this, while setting the background of the geopolitical rivalry between China and the US and Indonesia in the middle of this. I think it's very ambitious, and I think if you focus more on the stakeholders, it could provide even more depth. And so I want to say that in terms of this paper and in terms of our panel, right, the big issue I think is what is the government's role, right? What is the state's role in industrial policy and infrastructure, right? And another thing is there are these critical turning points, right? Because now everybody's talking about deglobalization and de-risking, right? And how does Indonesia play a role as kind of a linchpin of these transitions? And then there's a transition between traditional energy and renewable energy, right? And Indonesia is at the cusp of that as well, right? And so I believe when we talk about win-win, obviously Indonesia wins in terms of the, and China wins because it's found a very, very secure route for its renewable energy supply chain, right? And the crazy thing is they're all interconnected to each other, right?
Right.
And my only concern is, can we bring it back and use the case study of the high-speed rail and look exclusively at that and the B2B before making it into a very general argument about the geopolitical. So that's my comment. Thank you.
All right, so we will continue with our discussion, and I think Mr. Ko, you can be the first one to reply to Professor Zhao's comments. 3 minutes, stop, and after you, we will open the forum for all the participants. Right?
Okay, thank you, Professor, for the feedback. Yeah, I appreciate your feedback. Actually, I got the data for that. Who is the player in that consortium?
Yeah.
And for Indonesian side, it's actually all the state-owned. Okay, so the government appointed the state-owned company to be the players, the shareholder for that consortium. It's like if I'm not mistaken, it's Pertamina, our oil and gas company, and then the KAI is for the train, the national train service, right? And I think few of them, and the construction company, Wika or whatever. Yeah. And then from the China side, also the state-owned company. So I just happened got involved in the project just as a supplier, yes, because I put a photo there. So I know that the one that actually did the construction, the so-called high technology expertise was the Chinese company. At that time was the Sino Hydro. So they did from the two ends. One end from Bandung is another Chinese state company, and the other end from Jakarta is the Chinese state Sino Hydro. That's the one that I involved is with Sino Hydro. So they going, both of them going together and then meet in the middle. So they did the construction like that. So yeah, all of them are state-owned company, both from Indonesia or from China. Yeah. And then the money is financed by the state-owned bank from China, China Development Bank, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So all the money is from that. Yeah. But then they say that it is a B2B, business to business. But it's actually as between state-owned business and state-owned business. So the thing is, it is not put in the national budget. That's the thing. Yeah. It's off the national budget. Yeah, that's what they argue. Yeah, I think that's what I can say.
All right. So thank you, and we still have 10 minutes before the end of our discussion. The panel should be ended at 12:10, but me and Professor Wen, we have meetings at 12, so I will just end the panels before 12, but we still have 10 minutes. So if any of the participants have any questions or feedback, please go ahead. Just raise your hand and you can introduce yourself a little bit and we can start our discussion. Any questions for Mr. Hu or me and Professor Zhao? Welcome to raise your hand.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm Pita, also from Indonesia.
Oh, okay.
I think to respond what Professor Chow said that about China matters in Indonesia is not just can to be business to business because of the complicated historical problem in Indonesia, right, Professor Wee? Do you understand? Do you agree about this?
The complicated
Historical, yes, about Indonesia and China.
Yeah, it is.
And for China, maybe BRI is for to gain more friends, like you mentioned in your paper. But I think in Indonesia, it raises a national security consideration.
Right.
And it's very, it's a huge thing, is like a problem for Indonesia nowadays. So in your research, do you find that something? Do you have any finding in this kind of problem in Indonesia?
Yeah, I mentioned in my paper actually that it's quite a sensitive issue dealing with China.
Yeah.
That's why I mean it's not as easy as when Indonesia dealing with the West. That back in the so the story is back in the 1965 during the Cold War. China, the communist China was accused as the backer for the coup in the 1965. That's what the people of Indonesia believe, and that's what we brainwash in the school.
Yeah.
So I was born in the 1972, and I went to school during the Suharto time, and we have to sit for a week or 2 weeks every school year to listen to that so-called brainwash. Yeah, and it remains until now that when so that's why I mean it becomes political. The government say that the infrastructure will bring unity, right, for the country, but when dealing with China, it is another matter. It may be a source of disintegration, right? Because now we are in the democracy era, right? So there is always opposition. So the opposition always try to use that issue to undermine the government. Yeah, maybe you following the political situation in Indonesia. Relating to just now the professors mentioned about the energy, the nickel, China is very big in Morowali at the moment. They are the only players in Morowali, right? So they control the nickels, and they also build all the smelter. That's all under BRI as well. Yeah. And I think a few days ago, our president mentioned during the forum in Beijing, he mentioned that the IKN, the Ibu Kota Nusantara, will be under BRI. Yeah, so will be financed by China under BRI, and it will be a big issue as well, because the capital city, the new capital city, is financed by the China's BRI. Yeah, but there's no choice. China is the only country that have money and technology for that. So if Indonesia refuse that or listen to the West, we don't get anything. We don't get anything practically, because the US doesn't. They are not interested in helping the other country with infrastructure. I think as far as I can remember, the US never get involved in any infrastructure project. Even our first highway in Indonesia, Jagorawi, was financed and built by the Soviet, the Union Soviet, yeah, during the Sukarno era, and then finished under Suharto. Yeah, it was built by the Russian. Yeah, that's the main concern. Yeah, it becomes a source of disintegration if they don't handle it very careful.
Yeah.
That's why I mentioned about hedging strategy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Since we already right here with I just want to mention Southeast Asian Department, they arranged our panels for good reason, because if you take a look at the second presenter who is not coming today, he's actually writing about the South China Sea. So I think it's and the Taiwan's energy issues is closely connected to how we ship all the oils from the South China Sea. Right? So I just want to mention one thing is I feel interested with the papers about China and Indonesia, and I think my take will be China needs Indonesia way more than Indonesia needs China, because if you look at the map, you understand that under the global deployment of the American forces, that China is actually landlocked by all the countries they are allying with America. So if China's navy ever wants to go out of this box, then Indonesia is the only gateway for them to go out, right? Because on the right hand side, Japan, Taiwan, Philippines, there's no way they can be the friends of China. And they come to the south, if they want to go to Arab, go to India Ocean, they have to go through Singapore. There's no way that China can go through. So the Indonesia control most of the gateway that they can go down or go out to the Pacific. So that's why China will do anything possible to allure Indonesia to come in. And also, China is also hedging, because I read a paper about this. They don't really trust Indonesia, because they know if they overinvest in Indonesia, that will raise some kind of the hostility from Indonesia. So they are hedging on East Timor, because that's a country too, and by the United Nations law that they have their sea territory there. So they actually invest a lot in that little country. They know East Timor and Indonesia are no good friends. So if they can have this navy base in East Timor, that can replace the importance of Indonesia once for all. So that's also the international relations game in play in that area. So that's why I think the South China Sea issues is on the table. All right, any questions or? I think for today's conference, they have a buffet for the dinner. But the only lunch box for lunch, so we don't have to go earlier. If this is a buffet, I think we should go earlier. But that's for the dinner. All right. So, any further questions or? If not, then thank you all for coming, and it's a very nice discussion with the issues that we all care about, and hope to see you in the next panels somewhere in this building. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.